Welcome to the latest version of the More People podcast. I'll be your host, Richard Hanwell, Managing Director for More People. I'm thrilled to be joined this week by Rae Goss. Welcome, Rae.
Thank you.
Rae, other than just being the voice behind the podcast, if you'd be so kind as to introduce yourself.
Well, I'm a senior recruitment consultant who recruits within the agriculture, horticulture, and garden industry manufacturers world. Started in fresh produce, did that for about a year, and it really taught me a lot. Fresh produce did. I'd go back if I had to.
As I'm sure all of our viewers can tell that you're not from the United Kingdom.
So I came from the world of music, live entertainment. I was not a performer myself. Don't get it twisted. And then COVID happened, so I lost my job in the US in 2020 and decided I needed a change. I wanted to move to a different country, but didn't want to learn a new language. So I moved here. I was here for about 6 months, and then I needed a job because I ran out of money. And so I looked for work, and I saw the More People. I think it was an ad advertised, and I decided to apply because I thought I'm personable. I hope I'm personable.
Very much so. Memorable, definitely.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so I thought I could do the job. I could probably do it well, even though I had no idea what the industry was, what recruitment was really at the end of the day. So I applied. I think you called me up a day later, and I've been here 3 years.
What is it about recruitment that's retained you, I guess?
It's definitely, well, I think it's two parts. It's the people aspect. You're working with people, you're getting them jobs that they want, jobs that they are excited to join companies, businesses. And then the other part of it is the industry. So like I said, I knew nothing about food, fresh produce, horticulture, or agriculture. I knew the basics. But I think the industry is really what's kept me here. Everyone is so passionate, specifically people in fresh produce and horticulture, and then agriculture as well. They're all just very passionate about what they do. We're doing a good thing at the end of the day. We're getting people in jobs and industries that are necessary. We need these people and they need us. And I think that's what's kept me in the job really, is the industry.
Yeah, I think prior to working in the industry, you don't really think too much about how your food gets onto the shelves of a major retailer, or how your plants, your flowers, your products that you're buying for your garden end up on the shelves. And then when you delve a little deeper, it's a whole world out there full of opportunities, right? Talk us through the types of jobs and the types of industries, just to be a little bit more specific that you're dealing with day to day.
Yeah, absolutely. So I recruit for commercial roles, which is anything sales, procurement, account management. A majority of what we do is within account management and sales, I would say. Also buying as well. I know buying and procurement go together, but primarily what we're doing is we're looking at, for example, I work on a lot of seed sales specialist roles. So that's anybody who is selling seed direct to farmers. So you have people who need to be able to communicate with farmers or horticultural growers and understand the industry. So a lot of times they will be an ex-grower themselves, and they can, really speak to people and sell at the end of the day. So actually a lot of people like myself, they're personable, they enjoy what they do, they like talking to people because they have to be in front of people. So it makes my job really easy because I'm speaking to like-minded people. So I like that part of it.
It's kind of not the industry that at a more middle to senior level one can drop into or fall into, right? So the challenge is bringing people in at more junior level. How are you going about that?
Yeah, so I think, especially with the agricultural industry, a lot of people are coming from family farms and they work on the family farm. They'll go to school, they'll go to RAU, or they'll go to Harper Adams, and they graduate and they don't want to be on the family farm anymore. And they miss that social aspect of school and, speaking to people on a regular basis. So I kind of trick them into thinking that they need to go into sales so that they can talk to people all day long and still be in the industry that they love. I say trick, but they enjoy it. Educate them. They enjoy it. And I think, my job is to find the right people who can be customer facing, can really take that leap into something they're maybe not so comfortable in to begin with, but their personality takes them the full way. So if I'm dealing with more, junior level people, I'm taking them and I'm flipping them from, working on the family farm to working with farmers because they have that knowledge and experience to relate.
Is that because the perception versus reality of working on the family farm doesn't match up, or is there another reason as to why they're looking to exit?
So a lot of times, especially if it's women, they'll have older brothers or brothers who are going to work on the farm and they don't necessarily want to do the hands-on work. Another example is, yeah, they're tired of working on the farm, especially if you take away the junior aspect of it and you have people who've worked on a farm for, I don't know, 20 years and they do 12, 14-hour days. They might be tired of that. So then they want to transition into a sales role, which they have all the knowledge. They know everything. They know how to speak to growers because they were a grower or a farmer, and they can do the job really well. So it's multiple different reasons of why people would get into a sales role.
But people are wanting to stay connected to the original industry, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's what they've grown up with, what they know, what they love. And I think it's important for them to keep that piece of themselves involved in the roles that they're working in, because at the end of the day, if you don't enjoy your role, you're not going to last long in it.
How much of an understanding is there of making this decision that you don't want to be on the original pathway, whether that be family farm or whatever, and that there are commercial sales opportunities to stay connected? How much understanding is there already prior to a conversation with yourself, Brian, etc.?
There's an element of them that knows it, but it takes somebody to tell them, you can do this. Honestly, most people that enter into a sales role, uniquely enough within the ag and hort industries, a lot of people come from the same position where they were once doing the hands-on work and then they want a little bit of a change. And it's mine and Brian's job to let them know that they can do it and they would transition really well. And then there's also an element, going back to the fresh produce side of things, where some people on the flip side have been commercial their whole lives, but they're passionate about the agriculture industry or the fresh produce industry, and they want to switch over and start talking to growers. Those people can also make that transition, and then it's making them feel comfortable enough that you know the industry well enough, you know about farmers and growers enough to where you can chat to them quite easily. So there's both sides where people may not necessarily be comfortable in making that switch into, a sales role where they're dealing with retailers and then dealing with growers, and vice versa. The growers that want to become salespeople, you just have to encourage them and let them know that, your passion will lead you through and you'll do well in this role.
Yeah, you spoke earlier about specific universities, Harper Adams, etc. Is there much traffic from generic universities or other universities that can get into the marketplace?
When I first started, everyone was looking for people from, Harper Adams, Royal Agricultural University with these, agribusiness degrees. Now, today, I would say more employers are open to looking at different types of colleges and universities and looking at people that may not necessarily have that farming background, but are passionate about the industry or passionate about horticulture as well.
Are we seeing much migration from fresh produce or food or even more diverse backgrounds into these industries?
Absolutely. I think we as recruiters, it's our job to encourage employers to look outside the box a little bit. And I think, especially if someone's coming from fresh produce and they're going into, I don't know, a seed sales role, these people understand the full supply chain. So they understand, start to finish. So if they're at one specific part of the supply chain, they can look at seeds and they can understand, that side of it. Maybe they haven't done it before, but we encourage employers to look outside the box because there's going to be a really great candidate for them that maybe, further down the supply chain or in a slightly different industry, but still understands the basics and has the transferable skills.
How much more can be done to educate people about this industry?
I think it's our job to open up people's minds and bring to the table a discussion about, go back 4 years, who did we need? We needed the farmers, we needed the fresh produce people, we needed the food manufacturers because they were still necessary during COVID, where everything else was kind of, we don't need these. I think the key to now getting young people interested is the stability of the job market. I mean, these jobs aren't going anywhere, and that's nice for people to hear because they watched, during the pandemic, everybody lose their jobs, but these key workers, they stayed employed, and that's who we're recruiting for mainly. And then also too, on the flip side, the garden center industry, we had no idea that it would just explode after COVID. So, now we have this stability and we can rely on that to get young people into the industry and excited about it because it's long-term you have job stability, and it's everything that younger people are looking for now after the pandemic specifically.
Yeah, I think the resilience that the industry has shown, the growth, the scalability. I think when people were forced to stay at home and not go on holiday, and where do you spend your money? People are spending it on their gardens, etc. It did, to use your terminology, it did explode, and whilst it has calmed down significantly, it's still in a growth phase. There's still a lot of positives coming out of those clients and customers. I think also it's about the fact that people can carve out careers within these industries in multiple different roles. So it's not just a sales piece or an account manager piece, that there's fantastic opportunities in HR, in finance, in procurement, etc. And these graduates, these entry level roles, they don't have to be pigeonholed early doors, do they?
No.
And I think you spoke recently at a HDA conference around generating more talent and shouting about the industry. Just talk us about those types of conferences and the power that they can have.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the HGA conference was the perfect example where we got some growers in, some horticultural growers and some ornamental growers in, and then also garden centers as well. We kind of hosted the HGA hosted a bit of a panel where I spoke about recruitment and succession planning. And then it was basically just an open conversation between growers and garden centers, and people talking, realizing we all have the same issues here. It's hard to find young people in the industry, which actually corrected them a little bit. There are plenty of young people, but you do need to, offer something, incentivize them. They want to learn as they work. So, it's just really getting unique with it and looking around and looking at what you already have, because, yeah, you can look abroad for workers, you can look anywhere for workers, but you're going to find your core business people already in the industry. It's just maybe they're working a different role. Maybe they love plants, but they're working in a cafe, in a garden center, and they haven't had that opportunity, and no one's given them that shot to look at the horticulture side of things. And you need to say, hey, let's look at this person who's passionate, and we'll offer them X, Y, and Z to learn. And then you have a great person that you've built up in the business, who knows the business, and you've taught them everything they know, and they can go out and do a great job for you, whether that's in sales, growing, whatever it may be. Yeah. We kind of have to, excuse the pun, like water the plants that we already have so they can grow. I know. I know.
It's just right there.
Thank you. But yeah, I think it's so important to really just focus in on the people that already exist in the industry, or already exist, a little bit outside the industry, and train them up, and yeah, really let them grow. Everyone nowadays has this perception that young people want to be in a job for 2 years and then leave immediately. I think what young people are looking for, contrary to a lot of people's belief, is they want stability. They want the, ability to learn and to, educate themselves. Employers oftentimes think, if I give somebody an education in this role, they're going to go off somewhere else, which isn't true. If you teach them and you provide them with opportunities to grow as an individual, it's going to help your business, and it's also going to help these younger people who will stay in your business and help your business grow.
It has been thrown around at dinners that people want to get promoted too quickly, which I do understand, and there are no guarantees. You have to work hard for these things. But how much of an aspect is there that the pathway needs to be quite visual and transparent?
I think it definitely needs to be laid out, and, at interview stage, if you mention it, it's definitely good if they get offered to have it in their contract, or just to have the idea of it spoken about a lot. I think too, employers, they're not wrong. Like, grads will come out asking for 50 grand because they watched a TikTok saying that that's what they should do. I've had that happen before. Wow. And, it's more about educating from the employer side, educating the candidates about what they have to offer, but also us educating the candidates to be realistic. So, you may be on a lower salary to begin with, but in 5 years' time, you'll come away with so much personally and professionally. So I think, yeah, lining it out for them on both sides. It's an education piece specifically for us to educate clients about, what the younger generation's looking for, and to educate the candidates as well, to say, listen, you can ask for this. It's not bad to ask for this, but you won't know unless you ask for it.
Fantastic. Rae, I can't thank you enough. Absolute pleasure to have you with us for 3 years, and hopefully for a lot longer. But thank you for today.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers.